Welcome back, and Eid festivities in the air. We've been joined in the studios by another wonderful lady. I'd like Maruf to introduce her, but before she introduces her, an Eid Mubarak to you from my side.
Inviting me to your program.
Thank you for coming. We have with us Naila Chauhan. She's a former ambassador. Thank you for joining us. And it's always such a pleasure to have her. She is also, other than being so glamorous looking, as you'll see, she's looking beautiful as always, but it's also a wealth of knowledge, and we always love having her, and her views are always so educating. I have to add, as you see. Thank you for joining us.
And looking so pretty for our Eid show.
Thank you for inviting me and sharing this very auspicious occasion with me. And thank you for your kind words, Maru.
Your jewelry and the way you're looking, you're outshining us all.
Yeah, I can't. Mashallah, you're gorgeous.
Thank you. But
speaking about clothes and jewelry, Maruf, your clothes itself are very perfect for the occasion. I see a lot of animals there. We see a deer there. There's a horse as well. I don't see a goat or a
carriage
or a bull.
Yeah. But we've had such a nice discussion today about earlier on, like, on food and all. Yeah. And Naila, you missed it because really, we've discussed so much of the cuisines and how different they are from. What is that one special thing that you feel you cannot have Bakra Eid without?
As far as the food is concerned?
Yes. A meat dish.
I suppose tikkas, champ.
Are you a good cook?
Well, that depends on the others. My children said, I think I'm a good cook. So it's my perception. I don't know if everybody will agree with it.
Well, that's certainly better than my daughter going around and saying, my mama never cooks. I don't know how it is. My mama never cooks. I'm trying to teach her to be less honest.
I'm sure you tell her beforehand that you're not supposed to say this wherever we go.
I'm sort of oscillating between having her be truthful and trying to teach her to lie.
That's a challenge. But my children say, Amma is an experimental cook.
Oh, they're smart.
They're very smart.
They're actually very smart. Yeah. So they check beforehand.
Yeah. So it's experiment really. It's luck, I would say. Yeah. Someday it might be good and the other day it might be a disaster.
But for children, whatever their mom cooks is always the yummiest food that they can have.
One has to.
Yeah. We don't have any other option.
They are hostages to you.
Yeah.
It's really funny that on the table when the food comes and somebody says, oh, this is very nicely done, or that is very nicely done. I'm just sitting there and really like taking it all in and soaking it, and like, thank you very much, thank you very much. It's quite funny, and my husband finds it very diverting. He'll laugh about it. But I said, I have to take credit for having it come on the table like this.
Obviously.
You don't know how much effort goes into it.
Yes, that's true. It wouldn't come nicely on the table if it wasn't for you. But since my childhood, I wasn't very girly girl. This is all facade.
Can you say she wasn't very girly? I would want to say
I was so tomboyish that my mother really fixed me up to make me look like a girl when I turned 16. And one day she told my father, she's growing up, she doesn't know anything. When she goes to her next house, oh my God, this would be a disaster for us. Badnami ho jayegi, naak kat jayegi, isko kuch nahi aata. So my father said, Acha, he was very, Khuda Bakhsh, he was a great guy. So he said, Acha, we had this chef at home, he was Bengali. His name was Hashmat. And he calls, Hashmat, aap hamari beti ko khana sikhayenge. He said, good. And what would be the procedure? One day he would give the demonstration and I would observe. The other day I would cook and he would observe.
Nice.
But in implementation, when he cooked, I ran away, and when I cooked, he ran away. So between the two of us, it never worked out. And my mother was suspicious that she's not really learning. And then one day, spot inspection, called Hashmat. He said, Hashmat, aaj hamari beti ne kya pakaya? he was dumbfounded. And then he looked at him and said, Sham, इन्होंने हम क्या जानू डिश बनाया. मेरी cooking is हम क्या जानू dish. So whatever I cook.
I think I'm also going to say if somebody says हम क्या जानू.
So my cooking is labeled as this. So in my family, if you say she's a good cook, they say, her हम क्या जानू dish is the best that she can make.
So coming a long way from not knowing anything to
Yeah, no, but it was totally different, you know, because when I went to France to study and I was all by myself, there were no servants or no family to support, so you had to cook for yourself, and I learned. And my wedding was decided while I was in France, so I didn't know anything about anything. Anyway, when I came back, I was immediately married, and then we had to invite our parents one day to my house. And I cooked so well, I worked hard. I wanted to impress my mother that, you know, I am not that naak katane wali. I'm a good cook now. But as she stepped out of the car, she could smell the food, and my husband received her. And she said, very nice smell of the food. And he, with a straight face, said, Ammi, all the food has been cooked by me. And she said, what? She came running to the kitchen and said, इस दिन के लिए पाला था, दामाद से खाना पकवाएगी, दामाद से खाना खिलवाएगी, नाक कटवा दी ना, ये दामाद लगता है आपको खाने पका के देगा. How could you imagine?
You said you're lucky to have such a good damat.
No way, no Desi husband generally does.
Yeah.
And especially in our generation.
Yeah,
Nowadays, I
totally.
think
Now
the
I think
younger
things have-
generation, they
Even
are.
our generation, I think
Yeah,
that's
I think times have changed
Changed.
because in our times when I was a very young girl, whenever
You
I would
still
cook
are, my
something,
dear.
my father would, you know, reward me with money. But nowadays, you know, all these young girls, especially like I've got 2 daughters, so whatever they want to cook, they Google it and then
Yes.
see the recipe and they follow it and they cook it. So, you know, one day what my girls did, they asked me, Mama, how come Dado knows all the dishes? There was no Google at that time.
Yeah.
So I told them, beta, you don't
Recipe
need
books.
Google all the time to cook everything because they learnt it from
learnt
their
it.
mothers.
And those recipes and that taste. I had my paternal grandmother passed away very early, but my nani basically, she was a great cook. And I remember still the smell of the pulao and the aloo gosht, very simple dishes.
Aloo gosht is awesome.
It's a
cooked well.
delicacy, really. You know, if it's cooked properly. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like that taste now I don't find. You know, one looks for it, but
it is hard to get that taste because there are different reasons. In those times, the ladies would get the spices and they would be pulverized at home. We're buying ready-made spice.
And also the mitti.
So our parents and our grandparents in their times, everything was done at home, and so the taste used to be just amazing.
And the matti, you know, the clay pots that they would
One of
cook.
my aunt, you
in
know,
those.
all her life, she cooked it on the, you know, clay pot. She did not use
yeah.
pressure cooker or
It's a
any
different
other
taste
thing.
It's a
altogether.
different
Yes.
taste.
Especially
And,
if you cook on wood.
Yeah, if you cook on wood, you know the taste really, and you can sort of smell
Yes, the smoky
the
feeling.
smoky feeling. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
amazing. Now you have those clay ovens and you know the pizza that is being made in the clay oven. Even those are different from the ones you bake in the normal oven. So I think that taste can't be brought back.
We still miss it, you know, like I miss my childhood, and I sometimes whenever we sit with our children, we tell them that in those times they really make it an activity to cook. Now we cook it as a sidelined activity. We are doing something else and side by side quickly we just cook and we eat and that's
Cooking
khalas.
used to be the activity.
Yeah, so cooking used to be the activity in cutting, in preparing, and they would spend time.
Yes.
And I mean, those days were very, very, I must say, healthy days.
And now I feel like it's more, I don't know, I feel like now it's more about how much and you know what is on the table. And how many dishes are there? How are they being presented? How are they being laid out? You know, of late when we
optic
talk
angle.
about, and
That's actually true.
yeah, and the aesthetics of it overall, and how, you know, everybody's trying to, I mean, I feel like healthy competition is good, but I feel like, you know, there's a lot of how everyone is outdoing the other. And you know, there's no one can really match up to, so the next do has to be bigger than the, so it's kind of like on another level, I think.
You know, just taking it from here, I just wanted to discuss something and maybe share with the audience that nowadays whenever we you know, open our TV sets, what we see is like before the Eid, that everybody was you know, all the TV channels and people were into these with the animals, but what they were showing mostly was the animals and the price. So I mean, this is something we should be avoiding, because when you will be focusing too much on the price of animals, it creates a competition. So everybody cannot afford to have like 2 million rupees animal or 3 million rupees animal.
So
there are lots of people who have very limited means, and in which they go and buy anything which they can afford, and it really affects you know, puts a bad effect on the children, because children then they take their goats or smaller animals, then if elders and everybody is discussing our animal was that much of that much value or very expensive. So I think we should be avoiding, and we should discourage this trend of having a rat race and you know, show off of
I think
buying with
wherever,
you know, too much expensive animal and
wherever
show
the
of money.
comparison comes in, wherever the, you know, like I said, you know, when you're comparing who's doing what, and you know, whether you can measure up, I think that's a whole other ball game. And it takes away from the enjoyment, from the authenticity of the experience.
Even the true essence of the Eid, when we talk about creating an inclusive environment, when we talk about, you know, getting with each other, get along with each other, and giving back to those who cannot afford it, and the ihsas element that we talk about when it comes to this Eid. So Ms. Naila, are you a meat person?
Good question.
Because that's the most important one on this Eid.
Yes.
I am not really a great one for meat, but I do take meat. I'm not a vegetarian for sure. Cooking meat is more daunting. But coming back to the point made here, I think the spirit of Eid, Eid-e-Qurbani, is basically linking with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what you can afford, you do it for your own, you know, passion. Qurbani, I mean, if you look at the essence of the thing, when Hazrat Ismail was laid on the altar, he was the dearest to Hazrat Ibrahim. And earlier on you're saying you had the goats and you fell in love with them because it's so cute. Yes, that is the whole idea, that when you get an animal, you give it that love, you care for it, you develop a bonding for it, and then when you go for altar, that is your real Qurbani. Because I remember as a kid, we used to get these, you know, animals at home for Qurbani, and we were supposed to pamper them, care for them, put henna on them, all those things, shampoo them, you know, make hairstyles with the bakras. And then when they were taken to altar, one would weep so much that, you know, one was attached, it had become your pet. And then my parents said, beta, this is what Qurbani is. That things that are dear to you, they should be nothing more dear than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has blessed you with these abilities. So when you're talking about Jones's effect, that becomes really a very unfortunate thing, because it is between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever you deem appropriate. I remember I had this you know, colleague from Maldives who was doing training with us at Foreign Service Academy when we were very young. And we were talking about Qurbani, and somebody said, oh, I'll do a goat, the other said a cow, and you know, a camel. Everybody came up with this. And this gentleman, diplomat, fantastic person, he was quiet. So I won't name him because he became their foreign minister later.
Let's try and figure out who he is.
And we asked him, what do you do? And very modestly he said, well, we do chicken. And half of the group was almost with broad smile, chicken kurbani? And I said, don't laugh, because these are islands.
Yeah.
They don't have any animals there. They live by seafood.
Yes.
So for them, sacrificing a chicken is as important as for you it would be a cow or a camel. So when you look at the Muslim world across, you would see different cultures, different societies have adapted according to their habitat. But we have this stereotyping in our own milieu, and you see how many camels come to you after Eid Qurban from Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries, because there are poor people. I remember I was in another Muslim country and I had done this Qurbani, I won't name the country, and I was distributing it. I had put it all in my car and I was driving, and I was, you know, wherever I would see somebody with a little bit of, you know, situation, I would hand over the meat. And this gentleman, when he took his meat, he looked at me and he was in tears, and he said, I haven't had meat in 1 year, you know. And I swear, I also had tears in my eyes, that there are people who have such difficult lives and they don't talk about it because it's their self-pride, and yet they survive with dignity. And if you share your meat with them, I think that's where the focus should be, rather than competing that, oh, she did a whole cow, I have to do a camel. This rat race is totally irrelevant to the spirit of Eid, especially when you look across the board in Muslim world. Look at what is happening in Gaza. I don't know if they have had, let alone meat, a morsel of bread in 1 year. They are dying of starvation. So it's so unfortunate. You look at Rohingya Muslims, you look at Kashmiri Muslims, you look at Muslims across the world, there are so many who are suffering. And I think this is time to empathize, to sympathize, and to share, and within your country also.
Yes,
it's not that everybody is, you know, hunky-dory. There are people who really can't have 1 pound of meat in a month,
That's true.
let alone a day. So
I think this empathy is extremely, extremely important. It has to be passed down. I feel like it's so important, because every time, and I mean, not to take away from the seriousness of this, but you know, every time on a dinner table when my daughter's like, I don't like this, I don't like that, we remind her about Palestine. So now every time she sits at the table and she doesn't like something, and then she looks at it, and then she looks at it and she's like, yes, I know, Palestine. And then she'll put the food in her plate. But I feel like, you know, it's something that she's so cognizant of now, and she won't forget as she grows up, and I hope things change there, of course, even as we speak. But it'll make children sensitive to suffering in all over the world. And Naila is so right, it's not just there, it's happening very much in our own country, even as we speak. There is so much disparity.
I think it's a good occasion. We should be teaching our children all these values of sharing and caring and thinking of others, and you know, and gratitude, thankfulness. You know how others, lots of people over here cannot afford a meal a day. When you have so much on your table, you should be thankful to Allah, and then you should be thinking of those who don't have it, and just going forward and helping them out. And
I think as people, I think as people we need to change. We need to become more forgiving. We need to become more, you know, inclusive of others and how they look at life, how they want to live that life. I feel like we've become, I don't know, maybe very critical as people.
Or desensitized.
And we have no tolerance for so many things.
Maybe because of how time is changing, the world is becoming fast, there's so much dynamism in the world that everyone's just busy with their own lives, and we forget the core values that our religion, life itself teaches us. the morality element and having empathy for humankind.
And the core values of humanity.
Yeah.
Because of course we are ashraful makhluqat, so we should be, you know, having
One
all our
thing-
actions accordingly.
Yeah, that I
And also
highlight
like, you
is
know,
that
including our children in festivities, to insist that they work with us. For example, when we give out the meat, the sadaqah, you know, I actually ask my children to give it out. If
Yeah.
even if it is money, I ask my
them,
children
yeah.
to give it out,
Yes.
because that is how we one of the ways of training our children
Yeah.
to carry this legacy of sharing, of caring. And so that is why Eid, be it Eid al-Azha or Eid al-Fitr,
Yeah.
it is so important to keep the children very involved in all activities.
Yeah.
It's
Even
not necessary that you have to cook,
cook.
or
Yeah.
you have to actually do something,
Yeah.
but be there, be present, be in the moment, to not only enjoy but to be very careful about all that we are doing, and it just enhances the festivities of the occasion when the children are there.
And
Because
you know, even exactly, even and you know, festivities also in every occasion. Like for example, in Muharram, you know, not
Yes.
whether you're a practicing Shia or a practicing
Yeah.
Sunni, or you know,
As a
is
Muslim.
irrelevant. As long as you're Muslim and you know, I feel like you include the children in giving sadaqah, or you
Yes.
include the children that, you know, this is the time in the evening where you go and, you know, you have to distribute water, or you have to distribute sweets, or so it becomes part of their you know, growing up. I remember 9th and 10th Muharram was a holiday, and you know how children are, they're just like, they're all, it is still a holiday, and you know, everyone is like, oh, it's a holiday, it's a holiday. But I remember my mother, you know, would always put on the TV, and she would always put on, you know, we would know why it was a holiday. We would be, you know, and why there was occasion to be sad also, and you know, so that they realize, you know, the changing festivities, the changing tehwar, so to speak. So there's a lot of that. I feel like it's so important to pass down.
yes,
Very
keeping,
true.
keeping our children
You know, the
involved.
problem is that we are all women of substance, so we'll always get serious. So, coming to lighter.
That's what we were discussing before the show as well.
And you are not a man of substance.
We should,
He's not a man of substance.
we should be discussing Ma'am Naila Chauhan's jewelry,
Yes.
because this is exclusive,
Oh, it
and this is
definitely looks
lovely.
exclusive.
and,
And the
we
colour
are
of
just
her lovely
looking at
joda.
it with very, very envious eyes, you know.
That's your lovely.
Mashallah, you know.
Mashallah, yes.
But you
Yeah.
should
It's
share
your
with us
lovely
where did you get
eyes
them
that
from?
appreciate.
And the beautiful, you know, pink color
Yes.
is complementing her.
Thank
I'm
you.
actually fascinated with your hand jewelry.
We all are.
It's all old stuff
Can you
like
see?
me.
Yes. Yeah.
But this is all superficial. Coming to something that Rafi would be, you know, I would ask him
Yeah.
that on Eid we were talking about cooking, and we are asking women about it. But in Eid al-Adha, it is men who do the
Yeah.
barbecue,
Yeah.
men who do the cooking. So Rafi, tell us, what do you do?
Well, after I do the Eid prayer, I usually go to all the relatives and say my Eid Mubaraks and pay my regards to them.
And
then
eat
we
in
get-
everybody's house and not cook yourself.
No, my mother is usually asleep by then. And after we're done with the sacrifice, you know, I do sort out the meat myself. I tell my mother to rest. She doesn't have to do all the blood in the meat. But after that, yes, in the evenings we usually have all the family coming together, and the barbecue is usually done by the cousins and all the men in the house. So it's a day we try to give the women rest.
I think it's one day when men do cook generally,
Yeah.
Pakistani men who normally don't cook. They also take the screws and put, you know, the tikkas and kebabs and champs on it. And but this is all a facade, because deep down all the misalas are made by the women.
Yes.
all the cutting is done by the women, the marination is done by the women.
Yeah.
They just look good and say, oh, we are doing barbecue.
And cleanliness is also then
Done by the
done by the women.
Very
But
true.
I personally think making barbecue, even if you do it yourself from the marination till the end, it's easier compared to the cooking that
Yes.
women usually do
Ah,
with all
the
this
bhuna, the
yeah.
sauteing of
But now I
onions.
see more men, younger men are coming up in like they're more interested in cooking
Yeah.
and baking as well.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I have
I
a
think
lot
it's a
of
very
friends
welcome change.
who are
It's not
baking.
so much,
so it's
yeah.
really
Yes.
nice, and we should encourage, be it girls or boys.
Yeah.
Cooking is a life skill,
Yes.
True.
and so everyone should know
Yes.
something. You know, they should be able to cook something to be able to survive.
Yes.
Mostly it is eggs,
Yes.
which I'm perfectly fine
I
with.
make tea as well.
Yeah, I can also say I can do something also.
That's okay.
But
I
Maru,
can't have tea. In the morning today, it was really interesting that the tea, I normally have separate tea with very little milk. But the milk has to be cow's milk. It has to be proper cow's milk. And when it's not, I can sort of tell. I put like 2 tablespoons maybe I put in the tea, not more. But the taste of the tea, I can tell is not okay.
Yes.
And so it's been happening for a while, and I've been saying that no, you know, I feel like this is not quite okay, and I feel, and then just being quiet about it, and then maybe the tea, you know, the patti is probably there's something wrong. I said, where did we buy it from this time? And you know, last time was okay. And today I really lost it because the milk was, I could tell, you know, there was something wrong with the milk. So I feel like, you know, and I said, you know, because of this now, I'm going to have a bad day because, you know, just because the tea is not what I, and he says his skill is tea. So I feel like tea is a big skill. And
Yeah.
if you're a tea person, then you know how important
It
good
is.
tea
True,
is.
yeah.
Tea has to be fantastic.
Fantastic. Tea has to be fantastic.
but I'll tell you a joke about tea. As I said, I learned cooking when I was abroad in Paris. But I'm not a tea person at all. Even today, I don't take tea.
Okay.
Wow.
And when I got married to a man who does nothing but take tea. So it was a nightmare. And then my in-laws, they're mostly nocturnal. And I was from a family that woke up at, you know, Fajr, and by Maghrib, Isha, you go to bed, and that's it. And these people become active at night. And my husband, he has to read, he has to write, he has to do this, that, and the other. He'll be up at night. So when I was newly married, this adaptation was a big change for me. And after 9 o'clock, having given the dinner to everybody, I went to bed. And then I was deep in my slumber. Around 3 in the morning, I heard this voice, may I have a cup of tea, please? And I said, my worst nightmare has come true. And I woke up, I found a cup, I put water in it, tea bag in it, milk in it, sugar in it, microwave, out, gave it to him and went back to my sleep. And he was horror struck. Next morning, he said it to all my in-laws, my sisters-in-law, my brothers. This girl that you have brought makes tea in a microwave. And they said,
Must have been traumatizing.
microwave? You make tea in a microwave? As though I'm an alien who has done some alien thing. And I couldn't make sense. I said, Chauhan sir, if you ask for a cup of tea at 3 in the morning,
Improvisation.
I can't do Japanese tea ceremony. I can only put it in the microwave and serve it as it is. And believe it, now after so many years, everybody is doing microwave.
Yes.
But
Innovation.
at that time, they looked at me as a weirdo who had come from, you know, alien world. So what heresy? चाय को दम नहीं लगाया, चाय को ये नहीं किया. There's so much of ritual for people who are tea people.
Very ceremonial.
the dum
Tea
is
making
very
is
ceremonial.
very ceremonial.
Especially for the mother-in-law. Oh my God. इसने चाय को दम नहीं लगाया, इसने इलायची नहीं डाली, इसमें ये नहीं. Sorry, tea is not my field. Not that cooking is, but tea is really not.
So I'm the kind of person, I won't have, like, you know, in the morning I'll have my egg, and then in the evening around 4:35, but I want my tea. I don't mind if there's nothing in the middle, I haven't eaten at all and all. And you know, I'll get up from like a social gathering where, you know, probably coffee is there, or we're at a coffee shop, and you know, there are a lot of coffee shops now that don't serve tea at all. Which, by the way, I find, I want to say on record, horrendous in a country like Pakistan. You know,
it's actually quite surprising.
you know, you have the cappuccino, and now you have the matcha, and you know, you have like loads of these lattes and whatever, but have the tea for people who want to have tea. Any tea, you know, like whatever.
A coffee shop can't have tea.
But why not? They should. I mean, a country more than 80%, 90% of our population has tea. And you know, so I would just get, I'm the kind of person, I get up, why are you going, I'm going to go have tea at home. And you know, the very few people I feel who make the tea like I like, rather than. So then, so for those people who like tea a certain way, I think, you know,
I can have a bad coffee, but I can't have bad tea.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's
it's like
true.
you
That's
can't get around that. It just has to be right.
It
And
has
so
to be right.
It has to be at
and a
home.
good cup of tea will have you sorted in your mood for a long time.
And so coming back to what you said, that like I can't have tea with packaged milk. I can't even drink that. I can't. So if I have to have tea when I am somewhere outside, so I will ask them. So there are maybe 1 or 2 brands whose milk is the kind where I can get away with having tea. So if they have that milk, I'm like, okay, then I'll have the tea. Otherwise, it's got to be coffee.
But I think on this festive occasion, when you eat lots of meat, you should be having green tea. You should be avoiding black tea or tea with milk, because that is not healthy. So green tea with different flavors is very popular these days, with lots of elaichi. But what I like most about tea is the one which is, you know, made in KP. Or we just try our best to make it the same Peshawari Kahwa. We cannot have that flavor. I don't know what they do, or maybe it's a different water, or maybe it's different recipe, because we specially go to Peshawar to take that tea, namkeen gosht, and then of course that kahwa. We cannot have that that taste over here.
That's true. Especially with the gourd that they give.
Yes,
that gourd.
The gourd also has to be like good. I feel like, you know, through this program, everyone must have found out I'm so judgmental about food. I think it has to be right.
It has to be right. And also, you know, gourd is such a delicacy to sort of give people also. This also I discovered. It's a KP thing, I think.
I love gourd. I love gourd. I take gourd in
organic.
tea. Yes,
I have 2 friends who give us gourd, and I insist. I call them that I have not received gourd this year. Send it to me. and God bless them, they do.
Like in the south, it's like mangoes, right? For those who are from the south, it's like, you know, every year you sort of give mangoes. But for those, I mean, in KP also, I mean, I'm very particular. I'm expecting the gourd twice a year.
Where is my portion? I haven't received it. But to the masala, I like it plain. I don't like the masale wale.
I like the masala.
So masala is not gunpowder, but it's basically the dry fruit in the
dry fruit.
Masale
I love the crunchy feeling with it. But I didn't tell you the punchline when I gave him the cup of tea. Of course, what he did in the morning was something else. But when he took a sip of it, very softly said, "Thank you for the ditch water." I still can't forget it. Ditch water.
You must have given him the shock of his life.
He would have been traumatized.
Not to ask for tea again. I hope he didn't ask you again.
No, he did. Even now he does. And now he loves it in the microwave. There's something the way she does it. It's awesome, this tea, you know, but the first day it was a nightmare.
But I think it's the beauty of it is the diversity. As we were talking about the kahwa, of course, from all the way from the top till the coastal areas, when we talk about it, there's so much diversity in the country, and it's what makes the nation beautiful. Every 100 kilometers we see
From the meat to the tea.
yeah,
From the
everything
meat to
changes.
the tea is so different.
True.
Yes.
You know, there was this Canadian author, his name was, I don't quite remember, Jeffrey something, and he wrote a book on the tea route. Like we speak of Silk Route, he did a tea route, and he actually traveled all the way from China on, you know, donkey, camels, whatever animal came his way, horses, and he followed the tea route from Tibet downwards, from Pakistan onwards. And it's a fascinating book to read. It's called The Tea Route of Asia. But having said that, our concept of tea is not really with milk.
Yes.
It is like the Peshawari Kahwa, or you had Kahwe Khane.
Yeah.
There was a culture of Kahwe Khane
Yes.
which were on the Silk Route. They were like, what would you say,
Samovars,
sarai,
sarai.
motels, where people, scholars, Ibn Battuta, people like that stopped, they exchanged views. It was a culture. It is the British who induced this to us, and actually tea with milk is not very healthy.
It's not very healthy. Yes.
Not only for your body but for your economy also, because a lot of your revenues go to import of tea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Earlier on, when you had East Pakistan, you had tea.
Yeah.
But after Bangladesh, Pakistan has to import tea, and my Sri Lankan friends would laugh at me and say, "You Pakistanis don't even know how to drink tea." I said, "Sure, I don't." But he said, "No, the Pakistanis don't." Because Sri Lankans take their tea very seriously. And obviously they're exporters of tea. The Kenyans, they make their
Yes.
tea, and it's really exclusive. He said, "You don't even know the difference of the smell of the tea leaves."
Yeah.
And you take you look at the ads here, danedar chai. What is danedar chai? It is basically the husk, the trash that is left from the tea leaf.
Oh.
So it's danedar because it's not the leaf.
It's not the refined version.
And we say, "Oh, danedar chai," you know, because we really don't know tea.
Yeah.
Because it's not part of our culture. Our culture is, as she was saying, kahve, you know, whether it was Peshawari kahve or in other also areas.
So where does the mixed
we
tea
have
come
it.
from? You know, like those that like that tea that's cooked for a long time, mixed tea, which
like
is
Kashmiri chai,
brewed, yeah.
you would make it pink by beating
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
You know,
beat it,
you
yeah,
would take it
that's-
on cold water.
you would take it on
the tea
cold-
leaves, and you
yeah.
would beat all night.
Yeah.
And my mother would do it, and all night she would be beating the cold
Yeah.
water. And then there's a point when it turns pink, and you
Yes.
have to immediately put salt.
Yeah.
If you don't, it goes back to the
Back.
brown
Yeah,
again.
it
Yes.
goes back to
So
that.
that critical moment,
Oxidation.
if you have to
Yeah.
make Kashmiri tea the real
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
it is a really ordeal,
Yeah.
and women do make it. So my mother would make a deg of it then,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
So
you
the
would
kahwa
keep
is
on
made in a
Yes.
very
And then
drinking
they would
from it.
distribute also, and you know the kava, like once it's done now, those that really make a lot of effort, like your mom, you're saying, you know, they just like I know somebody who does that, and they give us bottles of it.
Yeah.
So then you know you can brew it, like put
Yourself.
milk in it and make it yourself.
Yes.
So it's definitely a delicacy. There's no doubt
Yes,
about that.
yes. So we have our
Yeah.
own original
Yeah.
recipes of tea, but the tea which is en vogue is basically what we have inherited from British, and it is not healthy, and it's also expensive for our. I think if you go back to lassi and Kashmiri
Yeah.
chai and Peshawari kahwa and all these things, because you see, like you said, if you have so much of meat, you need to digest it.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
take it with tea, with milk, you can't digest it.
Yeah.
You would have indigestion. So it's better to have traditions that are according to our habitat. Each country has developed its cuisine according to the habitat. We somehow, when we copy the West, like cappuccino or coffee,
Yeah.
which is not our plant.
Yeah.
So when we take it, we create health problems for us, and obviously it's expensive also. But if we revert back to the traditional, it's so much fun, And you know the nostalgia with it, how you used to have all these
But
things
Naila,
going.
you have to sort of like you have to develop taste for it also, right?
But
So
that
now
is through
we've
marketing.
developed taste- yeah, maybe. but
Maruf, that is marketing. You
But
go
now
for
that we've
Danedar chai. You know.
Yes, I'm forever lunging, by the way, big bags of tea whenever I'm traveling for my mother. She insists I bring it back with me. What should I bring? Bring my chai.
Same is the case, you know, at our place. Like we have different types and different flavors of teas and green teas and coffees from all over the world, because my husband's job is such that he travels, a lot. So me and my daughters, all we demand is different teas and green teas and flavored teas, and
So you
it's
know what I'm
lovely.
talking about.
Yes.
For me, I take the most routine leaves. For me, leaves are not important. The spice that we add to that kahwa is what really makes it different.
Yes.
So I put in a little bit of effort on the spice that I'll be adding. So
Which is?
green cardamom, but also the black cardamom.
Okay.
Sometimes star anise. Star anise is particularly used in Kashmiri chai.
And cinnamon also.
Yes.
Cinnamon is also very good.
So
And fennel.
So when you're doing
putting
the
all of it together makes it too spicy. So one of these I'll just add it to any of the green teas, and it just makes it really nice. And also, when you add cardamom, don't cook it. Put it at the end and then cover
Simmer
it.
it.
You will have the most gorgeous smell of cardamom. But if you cook it, the smell goes away.
So
That is
even
why
when you're
in
making
sweets
the
you put it
normal
at the end.
kava, even when you're making the normal chai kava, and you've put in the tea leaf and all that, then you put in the ilaichi.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
So that
And then-
it's about the
Aroma.
smell. It's about the smell, and you will taste it because the oils are released as soon as it is put into hot water.
Oh, you
So-
really know you're cooking.
I'm in tea now, and now I know that she knows her tea also.
I know my green tea, and
Okay.
I make my tea. I mean, it's as simple as that. I will make my kava. I will make my tea because I like it the way I like it, and
Yeah.
I just can't bring around people to make it the way that I like it. So that's why it's me. I have tried my best to teach my children, but I still make my tea.
Yes, I know. It's very important to pass it down, by the way. My mother passed it down to me in the sense how she liked her kava, and I think that's why I like it a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would come back from her morning walk, and nobody else, none of the servants were supposed to make it. I was supposed to make the tea, the kava, and then she would taste it and she would be like, "Yes, it's okay today."
How flattering must it be when she says it's okay?
Yes.
Because moms are the biggest critics.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
On that note, thank you so much for being with us. Naila, thank you for joining us. Farzana, thank you so much for your time. Afsha, you know, it was so much it was so good having you.
Yeah.
And there's so much knowledge that you've all shared with us, and also we had such a fun time.
Yeah, and the festivity just
Yeah.
got a lot better with all you wonderful ladies with us in the studios, and of course, Eid Mubarak to all of you, all of Pakistan that is watching us, and of course all over the world people, the Muslims watching us. Eid Mubarak to everyone that is watching, and with that we conclude this.
May we
Eid.
all celebrate as warmly as possible, and may we all give with both our hands on this occasion.
Yes.
Ameen.
Their family members in this Pahalgam incident,
Yes.
the families that are in mourning, our hearts go with them.
The soldiers that have sacrificed so
Yes,
much for us to be
yes.
able to sit here today and
Good.
feel so good and feel so happy on this occasion.
Yes, our duas for them and dua for our country. This is really a celebration this time.
Yes.
Very true.
Right.
Makes it a lot more special.